Okay, hold on. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Office Hours. You all are here so early. I love it, right on time. We have so many of you here. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. As we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. This is going to be recorded, so I'm going to drop a disclosure into the chat. Speaking of the chat, if you go to your chat, so many of you are already saying hello. So please make sure when you chat to panelists and attendees. So panelists and attendees right here. Oh, you love the pink background? Thank you. I have curated this pink bookshelf over several years. And hi, Allie, you like my headband? Thank you. Thank you. So we are just thrilled to be here. But if you all will drop into the chat, Jenny and I want to say hi. We want to know who you are. We want to say hello. So please drop in your name, your college, your graduation year, and we know you want to be a CMO. That's why you're here today. So what brand do you want to be the CMO of? Okay. Name, college, grad year, and what brand do you want to be the CMO of? So while you are doing that, I'm going to give you all some details on the Kate Spade bags that we're giving away. Before I do that, Jenny, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here too. Hi, Windsor. Hi, everybody. By the way, I love Zoom chat. It's just like it's such an energy give. So like, I'll do my best to respond in, but keep the comments coming.
Yes.
Real quick, I'm Jenny. I'm the CMO of Kate Spade. I love talking to college students. Windsor and I both have a passion for this because we also know how hard it is, when you're in college and you're trying to figure out your path. So it's so nice to get to be here and help in any way I can, and just get the energy from you all too. It's wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Jenny, for being here. This is such an honor to get to chat with you today and to teach everyone here how to be a CMO. So while you are all rolling in your responses, telling us which brand you want to be the CMO of, I'm going to give you the details for our giveaway. So I'm going to put them in the chat so you all have them and you can come back and find them. But we are giving away 3 Kate Spade handbags to 3 different people. We'll each get 1 handbag. The way that you're going to enter, pull out your phones, open up Instagram. Okay, go ahead and do it right now. We can all do this at the same time. Find Generation Hired on Instagram. Give us a follow if you don't follow us already, and then find Kate Spade New York. I'm sure you all already follow Kate Spade, but if you don't, give her a follow. Then we want to see what you loved about today's session. What did you learn? What did you love? What was fun about it? Post an Instagram story or an Instagram post. Tag Generation Hired and Kate Spade. Use hashtag Gen Hired and tell us what you learned. Okay, Instagram story or post, tag Gen Hired, tag Kate Spade, and hashtag Gen Hired, and share it. We're going to go through, and the way that we'll announce our winners is we will post them on the Generation Hired Instagram tomorrow, and we will email you as well if you're one of our winners. Okay, so any questions on that, let me know. Speaking of questions, there's Q&A down at the bottom. Drop in your questions as Jenny and I are chatting so that we can answer those throughout. I want to check out some of these responses in the chat so far. So Mariah wants to be the CMO for Aerie. Jess wants to be the CMO of any designer fashion brand. Lily wants to be the CEO of her campus. Okay, Lily, I love it. Until Steph is getting for her job. I love it. Trinium CEO for Lululemon. Helen, CMO for a fashion company. Rebecca wants to be CMO for skincare or beauty brand. Diana wants to be the CMO of a skincare company like La Roche-Posay. Okay, very cool. Let's see, Ralph Lauren for Nico. Mackenzie loves food and drink brands like Cliff Bars and Kona Beer. Jessica, any brand that allows people to be creative or something in the fashion industry. Brianna, sustainable fashion. Carmen, an athletic brand. Jenny, you used to work for an athletic brand. Tell us about that.
I did, and I also know the CMO of Lululemon because she's ex-Nike too. So there's lots of good things in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked for Nike back in the day.
Very, very cool. Amazing. All right, well, I am so happy you all are here. I want to dive straight into this conversation because we only have a short 30 minutes together. So Jenny, you are the CMO of Kate Spade New York. Can you tell me in 3 minutes or less, super short, how you got to where you are today?
All right, 3 minutes or less. Let's see. Your life story in 3 minutes. I challenge anyone else to do this in 3 minutes. Let's see. I grew up in North Carolina, and I was one of those kind of kids who really knew what she wanted to do really early on. Around age 14, 15, I knew I wanted to work in marketing and I wanted to work for Nike. I had like my room covered in Nike posters. And I think what I liked about it was like Nike didn't just sell shoes or apparel. They talked about being brave or getting the most out of yourself or how to stick up for women in sports. And I just loved that, you know. So went to UNC, graduated from there. From there, got started at Wieden and Kennedy, which is a story in and of itself. If we ever want to talk about stories about how to get your first job, but I wanted to go to Wieden and Kennedy because they did the Nike ads, and I was like, okay, I want to go work for you. So that's where I worked, and was there for about a decade. I worked on Nike. I worked on Electronic Arts, so gaming, Target, things like that. And I worked in both Portland and in Amsterdam. From there, I went to Nike itself, and I worked at Nike for 7 years. Started in the brand innovation space there, working on Nike Women's, which was an absolute dream job, passion project. And then started really getting into the digital side of things there. I worked in digital sport, which was doing a lot around how you measure athletic activity so that you can improve. So I ran Nike Plus Running for a while. I don't know if there are runners out there. I helped launch Nike Fuel Band, which was before the Apple Watch. It was the way that you did all day activity tracking. And now once Apple came out, they completely put us out of business, but it was amazing while it was. And just really started to kind of think about, get a lot of experience on digital and digital communities and apps. So Nike really, I think, shaped a lot of how I think about being a marketer. It was hard, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. From there, let's see, I ran 72 and Sunny, which is an ad agency in LA. And that was a great way to get business experience because I had to run a P&L. I was managing a 400-person office. Wow. Like that was like almost like a mini MBA. From there, I went on to be the CMO of Tinder, which is where I got to meet Windsor because Windsor did so much college work with us. And that was amazing because Tinder is such a great, iconic youth culture brand, you know, and it had really revolutionized everything. Mm-hmm. And getting to do that in a global capacity as the CMO was pretty awesome. But it was hard to resist the siren call of Kate Spade when they called. Kate Spade's a brand that I've loved for so long. Like it was, I remember when I got my job at Wieden and Kennedy, my mom gave me a Kate Spade bag because she was so proud of me. It was like, you've made it. I want you to look professional. And it was that awesome zebra print one. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I just loved it. And I've always just, I've loved the brand, and it was really hard to say no to coming and getting to work on a brand like Kate Spade. And I've been doing now the Kate Spade role as a CMO for about 4 months.
Amazing. Well, congrats on the new role. Super exciting. So let's talk about being a CMO. So what does a day in your life look like?
Yeah, there's so many pieces in a CMO job, and we can talk in a little bit about how to chunk it out, but it is, there's this crazy high low to it, you know? So for myself, Kate Spade's in New York, but I live in LA. And so I start my day really early because I work a New York day. So I get up at 4 and I'm usually working by 4:30. Wow. And then the day kind of gets filled with, my job is global. So I usually start with Europe in the morning. I have Asia at night. And then during the day, it's a mix of creative reviews, strategic planning sessions. There's a lot of business aspects to the role. Because if you think about marketing, it's a big investment. Like for a business, you're putting a lot of money in there. So where should we put our money? Are we getting the most for our money? How would we optimize things? How do we make priorities? You know, at this point too, you know, it's a big team. It's about 65 people. So there's a lot of people work in it, you know, because like you really got to take care of your team. And there's so many people who are there because they want to do amazing work. So you're trying to figure out how to help them do amazing work and be support to them. You do a lot of work as a leadership level around just, my peers are the head of merchandising, the CFO, the head of product design. So you do a lot of cross-functional work with them around seasonal planning. How are we going to do things? How do we choose which products to market this season? So that's just a little bit of a glimmer of all those things.
It seems like such a cool job. So tell me about, you're the CMO. How would someone break in? I saw a lot of interest in the chat in designer, luxury fashion, et cetera. So what's the best way to break into a fashion brand like Kate Spade?
You know, there's probably a lot of paths in, you know, you could obviously come in as a coordinator role. That's usually like the entry level one where, you know, you don't have to have, especially if you're coming straight out of college, no one's expecting you to have a lot of work experience. They're expecting you to probably have a point of view and maybe some internships, but that's a good way to come in. I have personally found that maybe a faster path sometimes is to start at an agency, like, and then work on the Kate Spade brand. So like, that's kind of how I did it at Nike. I started at Wyden, got to work on Nike. And then by the time I got to Nike, I knew the brand really, really well. So like, if I think about like the agencies that Kate Spade works with, like I know that team really well at this point. And so it'd be easy for me to pull someone over because I can see what they can do. The other thing I would say too, and this was the same at Nike, it's the same at Kate Spade, like, working in the field is what we call it, which is like, working for a Kate Spade store, outlet or specialty, like go, because our sales associates, we call them muses, are amazing. They know our products so well, and they're really close to the consumer because they interact every day. And so it's actually a great thing. Like as a CMO, I'm like, oh, I want a woman who's working in Atlanta, Georgia, because she's amazing. Have her come onto the team.
Yes.
Like that's a good entryway in.
Amazing. I love that. And that feels very accessible, right, to everyone. So I do want to call out in the chat, Elena, Ali, Rivka, Riley, Mackenzie, and Mariah all had a Kate Spade as their first professional purse. So lots of people in the chat, which I absolutely love. So given the title of today's session, we can safely assume everyone here wants to be a CMO one day, but mapping out a plan from being an intern or just graduating from college to CMO, I think can feel impossible, right? It feels like, okay, so how do I get from where I am now to where you are? So let's break down kind of what are the essential skills that you have to have if you want to be a CMO?
As we were talking before, the CMO role has a lot into it. So I think one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got when I was thinking, I'm kind of like, I don't know if you guys are too, I'm like this planner type. I just like to have a plan, right?
Planning is important. Planning is good.
Right. It's like that whole vision questing kind of thing. And I remember when I was at Nike, I was a senior director at the time, and I really wanted to be a VP. And I was one of those people, you guys may be the same too, where like, I was always like, hey, will you be my mentor? I had no fear. Yeah, please, I'll take that mentor. And one of my mentors, said to me, I said, hey, I really want to be a VP. How do I do that? And he went, well, let's break it out. Like, let's look at the VPs that would be kind of in your sphere of influence. What kind of skills do they have? And he kind of broke it into 5 things. Okay, they have retail, they've got digital. All right, Jenny, you've got like 2.5 of those. Let's work on getting you the other ones. And when I think about that was so helpful because I kind of like was like, okay, well, I can do that. When I think about a CMO, there's a lot of just pieces into it. And I think for you, just getting into one and then layering it one after the other is the way I would say to do it. So like you could start in media, like work for a media agency, especially digital media. Anybody who's got digital media experience right now is gobbled up in a heartbeat. And I would say as a CMO, like I have to know enough about media because again, it's an investment. I had to be, all right, we're spending millions of dollars over here. Is this smart? I would say a lot of the CMO role too is, you're in charge of the creative output, right? So like, you have to know how to give good creative feedback. You have to know what good creative looks like to be able to say this idea versus this idea. You don't have to be the one to come up with the idea, but you have to have, be able to shape it. And so for me, like coming to a creative agency like Wyden and Kennedy that was really known for that, really helped me be able to hone those skills and even just to know how to give feedback. Like I'll tell you right now, a creative hates it, or a designer is you're like, I don't like that color blue. You have to like be like, you know what, I'm not sure that this is really going to pop and cut through in the way that we need it to do. But that's a skill that you learn in an agency a lot. So I would say like starting at any agency is a good thing, whether it's PR or advertising. The other thing that's so important in the job is consumer insights and really being close to the consumer. So anytime you can start, get consumer insights, whether it's through research companies or anything like that, that's a good layer up. And then the last thing I would say too is just the business aspects of it. Like a lot of CMOs have MBAs, and you don't have to have an MBA to be a CMO. I don't. But there are places that kind of hone that skill. Like I've hired people who worked at Procter & Gamble, where it's a different type of marketing. It's a very systematic type of marketing. It's a very analytical type of marketing. And those skills are actually really nice to have. So if you just kind of start to think about those different skills and start to chart your path of like, how do I get one? And maybe I stay for a couple of years, get that, and then I move on to the next. By the time you've got 10 years of experience, you're going to have a couple chapters that you can point back to.
I love that. I love that. And I think it kind of takes it from, oh my gosh, how do I get from here to there? And you're creating your own treasure map, right? And then the treasure at the end of the treasure map is your dream job. So, how do I get, what are the things I need to learn? How do I learn those things? And being very strategic. I think that's amazing. So speaking of kind of this advice that you just gave us, what's the best advice that you have ever received?
Yeah, I've gotten, so many of us are really so lucky to have had people giving a lot of advice. I was trying to think about like, what would I say? Because there's a lot. There's a real tactical one that I would say is that when I was in college, I really wanted to work internationally. And so someone gave me the piece of advice of like, well, go to a company that's in the US but has international offices, because it's easier for you to just transfer internally than just for you cold in college to try to call up someone in France and be like, can I work for you?
Yeah.
And so like, that was just a good reminder of like, think about where you want to be and
Yeah.
then start just making sure that you go to the places that might help you get there.
Yep.
So I don't think I would have thought of that myself, but it was true. And then I would say like more recently, the thing that always sticks with me is like when I was at Wieden and Kennedy, like it was so much about the creative work. And we had a mantra that was called like the work comes first. And what it meant was no matter what, protect this idea to make sure that it gets to market in a really good way so it's impactful. But it would kind of it would create some bad behavior because everyone's like, well, I'm sorry, I'm being like not great about this, but the work comes first. And over the years, I've kind of gotten more into this like be hard on the work but kind on the people, because if you can direct your energy into like making sure that the work that you're doing is as best that it can be, but understanding that there are people impacts to things and everybody's doing the best that they can. They all want to do good work. And the more you can support and love up your team,
Yes.
actually the work gets better if you focus on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that has, I think, as I've gotten more senior, I think I've realized how important the team part is to make the work good.
Yeah. Companies are people, right? It's the people that make up the companies, the people are working together to make ideas come to life, to bring products to market, all of it. It's all about the people. What do you wish you knew when you were 22, Jenny?
Oh yeah, gosh, a million things. From a fashion standpoint, I wish that every year I had bought like one really nice designer piece. So like I could have like this like 20-year history of like amazing pieces. I wish I had done that. Even if it meant like putting my rent towards them when I was younger. I think one of the biggest things, because you hear a lot when you're in college, like, oh, it's all about networking and you really got to just get yourself out there and you got to know people. And it's true, but I think I would say like, don't worry so much about the politics or networking just because you've been told to do that, or want to meet someone because they've got a good title and you think it might help you. Like, I would say like focus on like doing a great job at the job you have, be a really good teammate, be really generous in your favors when anyone needs anything, to always be there to help them. And if you're going to network with the people that you find interesting or that you just want to know more about, because that networking is much better than the facade of like, I'm networking because I have to. And if you do those things, you get noticed in your career and you get those paths.
100%. 100%. I love it. Okay, we have some questions that are rolling in. So we're going to start. Let's see. Troyce wants to know, thank you for the question, what are some of the things you would recommend to make yourself stand out for internships?
Let's see on that. I mean, you definitely are looking on internships for people who have shown passion for the category. So no one expects you to have a ton of experience in college, but if you really love something, you would have done things that show your enthusiasm and your passion, whether it be a project that you do. Like for myself, before I went to Wieden and Kennedy, I asked a professor if I could do a Just Do It review. And like I just did a review of all the Just Do It ads that had been done for 10 years and just did an analysis. To be honest with you, if I showed it to you now, you would laugh at it. It wasn't very good, but it didn't matter because it just showed that I really cared.
Right.
So even if you don't have like a lot of stuff on your resume, those types of things, because right now the only thing you really have going for you is your passion.
Yes.
And so the things that you can show like, oh, this person's going to come in and crush it because they really want it. that would stand out to me for sure.
I love that. I think that's great advice. And it kind of dovetails to this piece of advice we give a lot, which is there's this conundrum. I'm graduating from college right now, and all the jobs say they want 1 to 2 years of experience. You're like, I just graduated from college. How am I supposed to have this experience? But it is that, what did you do for your schoolwork? What did you do for extracurriculars? What internships did you have? You can translate that not in years of full-time work experience because you were in college, but into years of things, skills that you have collected and things that you have really gotten good at while in school. So Emily wants to know, what was your first internship, Jenny?
Let's see, I had a couple of ones. So I was on a scholarship program at UNC, and they actually helped us get internships. So I had a leg up in that regard. But I did an internship at BBDO in New York from Pizza Hut, which was hilarious. I did 2 internships in Australia and Sydney. I worked one for Women's Wear magazine, which was kind of like an Us Weekly. And I remember like working on articles, like I got to work on, what does the palms of stars tell us, celebrities, like I did that kind of stuff. And then I also worked for like a tech magazine there, like a Microsoft magazine, like kind of thing, which was, again, just good ways to kind of show interest. And it was actually nice for me to be able to see what I was interested in. So those 3 were like the big ones for me.
I love it. So Allie has a question, and Allie is one of those, Allie and Riley, I have seen it almost every single office hour. So if you want to talk about networking, these women have been showing up consistently. So I see them. I see you, Allie. I see you, Riley, every week. Call you out. This is great. So again, this is networking on Zoom, right? This is fantastic. Allie, this is a really good question. Allie wants to know, what marketing certificates would you recommend getting for people starting out in the marketing industry? HubSpot, Hootsuite, and how much advantage do these certificates give to candidates when applying to jobs?
I don't even know how to answer that question because I don't look at those at all.
Okay, see, that's really interesting.
It wouldn't carry any weight with me, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable, but they're not something that I would look at. I would look purely on passion and proof that you will come in and crush it.
I would say if that's going to be a requirement for a job, it will be listed in the job requirements, right? Proficiency in Hootsuite, proficiency in HubSpot, for instance. And if it says that, if you're dreaming, if you're gunning, I really want this job, I really want this internship, how am I going to get a leg up? And it says, we want someone who has proficiency in this, get that certificate and have that as part of your path, right? Like on your treasure map, what's your first stop to get the next clue, right? And they want HubSpot, I'm going to get HubSpot. They want Hootsuite, I'm going to get Hootsuite. They want Photoshop, I'm going to get Photoshop proficiency. So it's matching it, but it's not required for all jobs. It would just be specifically for certain jobs. But that's a great question.
And what I would say, just to add on to that too, it never hurts you to have skills, right?
No.
And to have different specific things that you have. So even like Photoshop, I use Photoshop all the time, even as a CMO, because I had to make a ton of presentations because a lot of my job is influence, right? And so having that is never going to hurt you no matter what,
Amazing. Serena says it's her first time here. She sees why you come back. Riley and Allie, well, Serena, I hope to see you next week. Amazing. All right, let's see. Allie wants to know, what's your favorite thing about working for Kate Spade?
Oh, I love working for Kate Spade. It has an amazing culture. Kind of what you see on the outside is what it's like on the inside. And it's very female forward. My CEO is a woman. Our leadership team has a lot of female leaders. It's a very joyous place. Like I jokingly say to people, I've never used as many exclamation points in my emails as I do at Kate Spade. It's like, that's great. I love that. Whereas Nike, it was very like, cool. We were much, you had to front a little bit more, whereas Kate Spade's just pure joy. So many people love the brand who are there. It's a passion brand. And so people who come there aren't coming there just because they want to work in fashion. They truly are coming there because they want to work for Kate Spade.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference because they want to do the best work of their lives. They're really passionate about things. They know the consumer really well because they get her. So it feels, it's a really supportive, like one of the company values is welcome with warmth. And you just feel that all the way through the culture.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I feel like maybe Kate Spade and her campus could give each other a run for their money for who uses more exclamation points and more pink, right? And more pink. No, that's fantastic. Let's see. Alexia, can all this advice be translated to a career in the beauty industry?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, when I think about, there's a lot of beauty brands that I am so impressed with. I don't know if you guys saw the Elf Chipotle collab. I just am like,
Love
I'm
it.
so jealous. I have this like a whole work crush on. I'm like, like I think beauty brands, Glossier is so amazing too, are doing so many amazing things in the space. And when you think about the advice I was given, it's more like around how do you start to just, I think you should try to find brands that you think are doing really amazing things. Like if I think about Glossier, like if anyone came, if I saw some of those beauty brands on someone's resume, what I would go is, oh, wow, they really know how to community build. They really know how to do social media. That's the skills that I would infer from working at a beauty brand. So if you wanted to go there, what I would say is just pick the ones who are really doing some cool stuff versus the really traditional ones, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my past client partners at Ulta Beauty, actually, she started working in retail at an Ulta Beauty, worked her way up to store manager, and her store was just killing it, and actually then got a marketing position at corporate out of her success as a store manager, right? So I think that's also a nice way in if getting a internship or something at Trinium has worked at Ulta Beauty for the last 2 years. There you go.
Really good places.
Amazing. Let's see. Going to try to get at as many other questions as we can. So we're getting lots of questions on the most challenging part of being a CMO. What's the most challenging part? What are your biggest challenges these days?
I mean, I want to give a really truthful answer. It's a big job, right? It's you know, you have to do the high low, which was probably the most honest answer I can give to it, which is the high being you need to be innovative. You really need to be pushing the envelope. You need to be trying new things. And at the same time, you've been given this responsibility of spending a massive amount of money very wisely. And so the pulling things down through the funnel of making sure that you're doing that great mix of cool, fun things that just make you love the brand, but then also like the hard work of making sure that people come and buy your product. Like that tension is sometimes kind of hard to manage. But that's again, like, that's why the business side of the job is just so important to know. So if you're ever thinking about how to break in, like having that, you can always layer the creative on top of it, that those two things kind of, I think, are the beautiful tension of the job.
I love that. I love that answer. Let's see. Best advice to get into the corporate space when most of your experience has been at startup companies.
Let's see. I would say if I were to make some assumptions about startup companies, I would think that anyone who came out of a startup is going to be scrappy. They're going to be the people who know how to figure things out, and they're going to have made a lot happen with a little bit, you know? And so like those qualities, every corporation for the most part is going to want. You know, so I would think about how to tell your story, not necessarily about, because you may not be able to rely on people knowing the name of your startup. And like for me, it helps to be able to say, yes, I worked at Nike. You can almost go, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
You know, if people don't know what the startup is, you're going to have to figure out how to tell the stories of the skills that you learned while you were there and kind of get in with that. And then I would say, like most things, it's harder, I think, sometimes to go in through an empty black hole of submit your resume here. The more you can work, having someone that you can send a resume to that can put it in front of the right person, that always helps as well.
So we're at time. Do we have time for one more question, Jenny?
Yeah, totally.
Carly. Okay, I love this question from Carly. Was there ever a point if you felt you were not qualified for a specific position? And if so, how internally did you work through that to fight for yourself in a space?
Oh gosh, women, we always feel like this, don't we? It's the imposter syndrome all the way.
All the time.
All the time. I have different ways about it in different parts of my career. At Nike, I used to have this thing where before I would go in to present to the CMO, basically, who was amazing, I would do this pump up thing where I would be like, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. And I would just like, and then I also thought of, remember how Beyonce always said that she had stage fright and she had this alter ego, Sasha Fierce? So I'd be like, Sasha Fierce. So that was like the mental trick that I did there. The other mental trick I get sometimes too is that people have told me before that the feelings of nervousness are actually the same psychologically feelings of excitement. So if you just tell yourself, oh my God, I'm so excited to do this. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to do this. It shifts you from being nervous into being excited. And then the last thing I would say too, I mean, like anytime I've had to have a new job, like when being a CMO of Tinder was the first time I'd been a CMO. And you kind of, I think, have to be really conscious of like what you know and what you don't know, and be really confident about that and be okay with it. And just be really open to that and set some goals. Well, in 6 months, I am going to know how to do that. So let's work towards that. And that, I think, has typically worked, you know?
Okay, Jenny, that is the best note to end on. I love that. Channel your inner Sasha Fierce, manifest that you are not nervous, you are excited. I can do this, right? Like, I think that is amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I know we all want a Kate Spade handbag at this point. We already did. Now we want one even more. So I'm going to drop in again the instructions on how you can enter to win. I forgot to mention that you have to submit your entries by 4 o'clock Eastern today. So you have about 3.5 hours to submit your entries. You need to tag Kate Spade New York and Generation Hired on Instagram. Follow us both, obviously, and use hashtag Gen Hired in your story post or your in-feed post. And we're going to share our 3 favorites from the Gen Hired Instagram tomorrow, and we'll email you if you're one of the winners, and we'll coordinate how to get you your bags. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Generation Hired Office Hours. Next week, we have the head of brand and integrated marketing for Fitbit who's going to be joining us, which is going to be great. After that, we have the general manager for SkinCeuticals at L'Oreal. And then we have someone from Deutsche Bank who's coming in after that. They have this really amazing program that they're hiring for right now. So please come back every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, Generation Hired Office Hours. We're so thankful, Jenny, for you coming here today, sharing your wisdom with us. I know I feel so inspired. I think everyone else does too. The chat is blowing up, which is amazing. But seriously, thank you so much. I know you are incredibly busy, and we appreciate you giving your time to all of these amazing Generation Hired members today.
Thank you all so much. It was such an energy give for myself. So thank you, Windsor, and thank you to everybody.
Awesome. The recording will be on generationhired.com/events in a couple of days. You can all just come back and watch it when you need a confidence boost. But thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you, everyone.